There's a couple of things I'd like to mention to you, if I could, please.
Go ahead.
Yes, I did take the opportunity to go through and read them, but just for informational purposes, and I'll let Tina kind of jot these down since she's friend of mine.
Since I'm very thanks.
But under 0164, notice of meetings, and this is kind of an editing issue here that you might want to look at. I think if you'll look at that B, it seems like that the format of that needs to be changed. It's not really consistent with the rest of it. And maybe just that's something you all might want to look at, Mr. Rich.
We'll look at everything.
Yeah, it's not the language or anything, it's just the way it's laid out, you might want to look at it. The next one, it's under Administration Section 2, it's 1220. It's regarding the employment of the superintendent. And under that one, I think there's just an editing thing once again. It's regarding the county superintendent's licensure, and it says any person, employee, and I think really what it should say is that an employee is employed. The teacher coming out in here. So I think it should say any person employed rather than employee. 1230 under superintendent of schools. I think once again it's just a minor thing here, but I just like to bring it up. It says his or her contract. It says or. I think that really should be of. It says his or her contract of other written agreement. I think it should say or other written agreement. It's just a typographical. Since we're doing it, that's what everybody knows. Okay. Now, on 8800, and I'll pose this to everybody here. This regards something I think we need to take action on, if not now, at some future point. But it's talking about religion, patriotic ceremonies and observances. And it's the way I read this, it seems that the board must choose between option 1 or 2, because it lists them both on there. And it looks like we have to decide one or the other. I'll just read them to you, then once again, I'll leave it up to you all how we want to deal with it. But number 1, it says a professional staff are authorized to lead students in the pledge, although students cannot be compelled to participate. So we're talking about the Pledge of Allegiance, where this board would say it's all right for our teachers to lead their students in the Pledge of Allegiance each day, which I kind of feel like that's something we would promote and want to do. And it's certainly consistent with the law. And but at the same time, if there are students who don't want to do that, they have the right not to participate. That goes back to years ago, actually, a Supreme Court case from West Virginia. But the option number 2 is that professional staff aren't authorized to lead students in a pledge. So it looks to me like we as a board have to choose either option 1 or 2, and then that one would be our policy, and then the other one would just be eliminated from it. So that's under 8800. So that would be something I think we need to do at some time. Next, Mr. Rach, I'll just kind of, this may be something you might want to respond to now or some other time, but under 1230.01 refers to an organizational chart. And I'm just, should that be something, I know that some of the forms aren't in there yet, but should that organizational chart actually be in the manual?
Yes, sir.
Because I'm assuming that we do have an organizational chart, but I would just think at some point that would be stated in there too. Next one is 3120.09. It's talking about volunteers. And this is just kind of a rhetorical type question, but it appears when I read that volunteers aren't approved by the Board of Education, but are dealt with administratively. Now, well, that's the way, once again, it's 3120.09, and that's kind of the way I read it. Because I knew in the past, in our county, the board usually approves school volunteers. But that doesn't mean that in our other counties, they might give that authority to the administration, and it actually is not something that comes before the board. But you all might want to look at that to just see, because the way I read that one, that it's the doesn't require the board to approve school volunteers. Okay?
It doesn't.
Does not.
Okay.
Unless I'm misreading, which
Okay.
could be. But I just, once again, realizing that different counties do things differently, and some give that authority to administration, some want to deal with it themselves. But you just might, and I may be misinterpreting it, but just please look at that when you get a chance. And then, this will be my last one. 2111, 2111, it's talking about the district-wide parental involvement policy. And I guess this is just more of a question to you, Dr. or Mr. Roach. It says it states that the policy was adopted in 2006. And, I guess my question is, I'm not sure that that's not a generic thing, and I don't really recall when ours was adopted. And just, I guess my main thing is this one still in effect? Is this parental involvement policy that's being referred to still in effect? And do we need to include it in our manual also? Does that make sense?
Check it out.
Okay, that's 2111. Okay. Yeah, when we first saw this, and of course I was a little, not concerned, but I wanted just some assurances, because I was wondering about all these policies and these big old red books that we have around here for years and years. And I know how cumbersome they were, that somewhere that we wouldn't lose policies along the way. And that's the reason I talked to Mr. Roach about that, and then that other item he mentioned earlier. That's why I was wondering, because we're, in essence here, we're rescinding all other policies. And, I realized, maybe one might fall through the cracks, but that's the reason I wanted to make sure, and took the time to read through them. But after talking with him, and he told me that the department heads here he had worked in their areas of expertise, and looked to make sure that everything that they felt like needed to be in the new manual was just being moved over to there, and that assured me and made me feel better about it. So once again, I've edited a few things, but after reading all this and looking at it, I'm very impressed with this. I realize it's extremely comprehensive. It's something that's easily accessible to you all and the public and anybody who wants to see any of our policies. I was really impressed with this after I really got into it. For parents or teachers or staff or anybody who wants to, obviously for board members, because you'll oftentimes get calls, we all do, and we don't typically have those things at our hand, but we can click right on there and get online or refer them where to get to, and I just, I think it's a very good thing, and I commend those that worked on it. And I'll be quiet.
Thank you on behalf of the staff who did that, because they all met and worked very hard and diligently on that. It's a long time coming. We're not there, but we're getting very close to being there, and it's just tickled for you all and everyone that we've come this far.
Now, I can see why it would take time, because it's long. There's a lot to it.
Yeah, it's rather lengthy. Started going through it.
Absolutely. Thank
But
sir.
you want to take care of that?
Yes, sir. I will also have in effect at the next board meeting concerning the volunteers and anything else that needs to be corrected, because we do approve volunteers. Mr. Priestley is correct, and that is not what we do. So we'll correct that at the next meeting.
I would like for it to stay that way, because from experience in the past,
Yes, we
there was
want
one
to-
listed that was an offender, and it was reported and stopped.
And I want to assure the board this is no way our desire to change that. It's an oversight on our part, and we did not want to change it. The board always needs to approve those kind of things, and we have training for those volunteers at the county level, so that we can assure you all when they come to you that they have been trained when they work in the schools. Drivers are approved, and they're approved for liability's sake, so you're an integral part. And again, I want to reassure the board we didn't try to do that deliberately.